In the fourth and final part of this Namibian travel series, we explore the peaks of Spitzkoppe, explore Sandwich Harbour, and make our way to Etosha National Park for 3 days of safari. You join me with another beautiful sunrise at Spitzkoppe. Welcome to another day in Namibia. It's another lovely sunrise. Today, there's going to be a slight change of plan. So originally we were just going to stay in this area and do some hikes and bits and bobs like that. But instead we're going to head back to Swakopmund and Walvis Bay, that sort of area that we passed through yesterday, because we're going to do the Sandwich Harbour tour, which goes into the dunes. And you might have seen lots of images of this place where you can drive between the really steep sand dune and the sea, and you can get some really spectacular views. When I was planning the trip, I did read up that whole coastline gets very foggy, misty and very cold, so I sort of questioned whether it would be a good experience when it was like that. But we've had a look on the forecast, the weather forecast for today, and it looks quite good. It looks nice and sunny, which is quite rare there apparently. So we're going to do that instead. It's something Rebecca really wants to do. It does mean that we're going back on ourselves a little bit. It's about a 2-hour drive back to Swakopmund. The tour starts at 12:30 and we should be back in time before sunset. So it's a little bit more driving. But I think it'll be a good experience to do anyway. A lot of people that come to Namibia do the Sandwich Harbour tour, so it would be a shame to miss out, I think. We then made our way to Swakopmund, but first a quick shower at the rest camp facilities. We then met with our guide and made our way to the dunes via Walvis Bay and a quick stop at Flamingo Bay. As we headed out to the dunes, we passed through the salt works where 700,000 tonnes of salt was produced every year, and you'll see massive mounds of salt right next to the road. And then soon enough we were on the sand and going at some pace. We got to a section where the sea was much closer, and at this point we really did feel like we were in the middle of nowhere. Sure enough, the dunes did get bigger and we stopped at several amazing viewpoints. We then had a quick stop for lunch right in the middle of the dunes. We then made our way back with a quick stop at one of the salt evaporation ponds, and the pink colour is actually a type of algae and is produced in response to the high salinity and intense sunlight. And after the long drive back to Spitzkoppe, we saw the sunset just as we rolled into camp.
for sunrise, I went exploring and headed to the base of one of the peaks, and I found these pretty cool shapes in the rock. For the rest of the morning, we continued to explore, and we also went to the small Bushman Paradise, where you'll find a small collection of ancient Bushman rock paintings. After that, we got back on the road and made our way to our next campsite near Etosha National Park. Soon after checking in, we sat by the pool and we were joined by a troop of banded mongoose.
Alright, so we've arrived at our next campsite, and this is the Onguma Tamboti campsite, which is actually in a private game reserve, and it's just outside of Etosha National Park. And the idea is we're just going to spend one night here, and then we're going to head into the park tomorrow, and we're going to be spending 2 nights in the actual park. So this is a little bit of a stopgap, but it is a really, really lovely campsite. I think it's got everything that you need, really. We've got our own toilet, our own shower, washing up facilities. We've got an area where we can have a braai, but just a short walk away to the reception area. There's a swimming pool. There's actually a waterhole, which is not exactly full of activity at the moment, but the facilities is amazing. Can't fault it. So the journey from Spitzkoppe took about 6 hours in the end, and it was pretty much all tarmac, so it was quite easy just to make progress. We broke up the journey. We stopped about halfway to do our last supermarket shop and refuel the car. And I thought it was worth talking a little bit about how I planned the trip, and more specifically sort of worked out the journey times and made sure we have enough time to get where we need to be. So I think Google Maps is a pretty good resource to start with. It will sort of give you a rough idea of the itinerary, but when it comes to journey times, Google Maps isn't really that useful because it doesn't really take into account the conditions of the road. So particularly when you're driving on gravel roads, you're not always able to go close to the speed limit, which I think I'm right in saying that that's how Google Maps sort of calculates the journey time. So the resource I used was Tracks for Africa, which not only does it give you more detailed information on the road conditions, it'll give you much more accurate representation of the journey time. So that, it's been a really good resource just to sort of doubly make sure that we're able to get where we need to be in good time. At the supermarket shop earlier, we picked up plenty of meat, and we also got some firewood. So we're going to have our first braai in Namibia, which has probably been a long time coming. We probably should have done it earlier in the trip, but this is a pretty good campsite to do our braai. I think everything we need is right in our campsite, so makes things a bit easier.
The next morning, we got on the road nice and early, and it didn't take us long to start seeing the wildlife. Just as we entered the park, we saw a glimpse of a lion with a fresh kill. And just to add, the time of year that we visited, which was September, is at the end of the dry season, so spotting wildlife is very easy as the animals spend a lot of time around the waterholes dotted around the park. Just as we were heading into camp, we saw a herd of elephants close to the road, where we were able to get incredibly close. We then rolled into the Okaukuejo campsite for our stop that night, which is located inside the national park. And the unique thing about this campsite is there's a waterhole right next to the campsite, which you can go to at any time you want. You can only enter Etosha from sunrise to sunset, so staying at one of the campsites inside the park is a great way to see the wildlife during golden hour and at night. So we settled down for an incredible sunset. At night time, we got some more incredible sightings with plenty of rhinos that this waterhole is known for.
Alright, good morning. So it's our second day in Etosha National Park and we're just waking up at the Okaukuejo campsite, and yeah, we'll go after sunrise and we're going to venture out in search of some wildlife. I think we're probably going to go to a waterhole where you can get some cheetahs and leopards. Some of the animals you can only really see early in the morning. One of the main reasons for staying at this campsite was the watering hole that's here. So they have sort of like a viewing area that goes around, and it's actually floodlit at night. I think they use a special light so it's not distracting for the animals. But we got some incredible sightings last night. We also got elephants at sunset, which was incredible. It was exactly what I hoped for. Yeah, I got some really nice images of the setting sun. It's just unbelievable, really special evening. And yeah, can't wait to see what today has in store.
After an incredible morning, we continued with great sightings throughout the day.
Alright, so we've arrived at our next campsite, and this one is called Halali. It's also inside the national park. It's another one run by NWR. Their facilities are a little bit dated and in need of modernisation, but what we're really here to see is the animals, and being able to get out into the park early in the morning, being able to sort of see the animals at the Waterhole at sunset and overnight. That's what we're here to do, that's what we're here to see. So yeah, don't get me wrong, the facilities aren't that bad. It's just, you can get a lot more for your money outside of the park. All the pitch up sites are done on a first come first serve basis. We nabbed the good spot close to the Waterhole and close to the shower facilities. And yeah, we've just sort of been chilling out this afternoon. And we had an absolutely brilliant morning. We headed outside of the campsite as soon as the gates opened, and we were rewarded. I think there were 6 lions in total. Yeah, definitely feeling very fortunate, very lucky on this trip. And yeah, we've just had incredible sightings all day, to be honest. And to be fair, Etosha not been as busy as I thought it would be. I thought it would be absolutely rammed with cars. But yeah, it's been pretty good. I mean, you get the occasional waterhole where, you might get 10 cars or so if there's, some elephants nearby. But it's, it's so easy to go off the beaten track a little bit and go to some lesser known places. So yeah, I've sort of been quite surprised, I suppose.
The Halali Camp also has a waterhole that's accessible at any time, so we settled down for another beautiful sunset. At night, it was especially active with loads of elephants. For our final morning in Etosha, we went in search of a leopard or a cheetah, but it seemed like our luck had run out, although we did see a few more lions. Around midday, we then left the park, making our way to our accommodation for the night.
So this is the Okahandja Country Hotel. It's about an hour's drive from the capital of Windhoek, and it is absolutely beautiful, really nice surroundings. I thought it was worth, on our last day or our last night, just sort of finding somewhere with a pool, somewhere where we could just sort of chill out, pack our bags ready for tomorrow, eat in the restaurant and not have to worry about, the campsite and, cooking and cleaning and all that sort of stuff. Just so we could have a nice relaxing end to our 2-week adventure. It's just got to that point in the trip where we're just sort of reflecting on the last couple of weeks, and to be honest, I think it's gone really, really quickly. I think because we're camping, we're always doing something, whether it's cooking, cleaning, and then doing activities on top of that. You haven't got a chance to stop and think about, how it's going in a good way. I think we like being on the move, we like doing lots of activities on our travels, so it's definitely been a good one for that. And in terms of the whole sort of tenting, camping experience, it's been exactly what I hoped it would be. Just being outdoors, out in nature, experiencing these amazing places and having, that sort of solitude, being able to look up at the stars at night has just been such an incredible experience, and in my opinion, the best way to see this country.
The next morning, we dropped off the car, headed to the airport, and that would be the end of our Namibian adventure.
This place is spectacular.